Well, welcome to a very special episode of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. This is episode 15. I'm BJ.
Vic.
All right, so we just spent the last couple episodes doing an all Batman. We did a debate on the Man of Steel, which, quite frankly, was pretty awesome. And then we got a chance to finally watch Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I just wanted to I just wanted to get our thoughts on it first, just an overview first before we move on because I got to say with everything that we've been trashing this movie for without even seeing it and with the early ratings that came out. I mean, I think currently it's sitting at 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hmm.
I basically went into the movie, and I think you did too, basically just had such low expectations for this movie.
I'm
And
yeah, I'm actually eating crow right now. I'm
yeah,
literally eating crow. I did not expect that.
yeah. So basically, I think both me and BJ are on the side like we thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and let's be very clear that there's a lot of things going on in the internet right now, and me and me and you are not
I'm
Marvel
not.
fanboys. We're not.
No, no.
We don't have loyalty to either one. We have loyalty to like good movies and good directors and good stories. And
Absolutely.
so if there's people out there who actually think that we are all about Marvel, it's only because they've made a good movie or good movies and they have a history. It's the same thing with Pixar. Like I don't expect Pixar to make a shitty movie, except for Cars. But
Yeah,
but when when I went into this movie when it was done, I turned to my friend and I said, I think I like this movie.
I
And
do.
it's not let's be clear too that it's not a good like
It,
story. There's definitely problems with this movie. There's
it's
definitely
it's far from perfect, but
yes.
what make lacks in character development and story, they made up in a lot of other things,
Yeah, I
which is
mean,
surprising.
I can't stress enough that this movie is by far so much better than Man of Steel. It's so much more entertaining. Um, it was fun. It was fun to watch, and
Yeah.
like you said, there's definitely a lot of issues with this movie. But I had so much of a better time watching this movie than I did Man of Steel. Um,
Can
and I
you?
think you did too, right?
I did. Can you think of any movie in the history, like of every movie you've ever seen, like so one-sided, and then you went and saw it and went, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like this was pretty good, you
Yeah,
know?
I think you were guessing the rating on Rotten Tomatoes was between 50 and 55, and I was guessing 60 to 65. And then when we spoke after we watched the movie, I think we were both in the realm of like this movie is not a 30% movie. This movie is definitely 60 to 65, way
Yeah,
better than Man of Steel.
for sure. I definitely rated that. I don't know if it's certified fresh, but it's just the movie. What it did stuff that the Man of Steel didn't do. It was way more entertaining and
Yeah.
fun, and
Yeah.
not as dreary and gloomy as I first thought. And so,
Right.
but still lack. I mean, we'll get into it later, but it's still lacking things that we hope are going to be taken care of in the future ones.
Not if Zack Snyder's directing, because I don't think that those problems will ever get fixed. I think our hope for the Justice League movies right now is that he does visually what he did in this Batman v Superman. Well, so that's our main overview of what our thoughts were. Almost a 180 from Man of Steel of how
Oh
much we
yeah.
couldn't stand it. That being said, this is a special review because we are bringing in Dan and Steve again from
Yes.
the East Coast, and so I have not spoken to Dan or Steve. I've tried to stay away from their Facebook to see what they thought about the movie.
Nice.
So Dan and Steve, introduce yourselves, how you guys doing, and give us a really quick overview before we get into the details.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan.
And I'm Steve.
Uh, so I personally have to agree with both of you. I think that it was a fun movie to watch. There are definitely some major problems with it, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But overall, I I had a good cinematic experience, which I went in having absolutely no expectations whatsoever. Just like I had seen that people had hated it before I went to. I didn't like hear like any spoilers or anything, but I went in with like no expectations, and honestly, I had fun. I had fun watching it, and like I know I was on the side of Man of Steel like the last time, so it was like to be expected. But but like overall, like there are some major problems with it, but I actually enjoyed watching the movie.
Steve?
For me, it's kind of the same thing of Man of Steel. I mean, no, it's actually worse than Man of Steel. It looks nice, and
Oh
that's
my
kind
God.
Oh.
Oh shit. I thought we were gonna. I thought seriously we were gonna just be able to end the podcast after 6 minutes if you said you.
no,
Now we
there-
gotta stay here. Now we gotta stay here for the full hour and whatever because
All
Sorry.
right. Go ahead, Steve.
honestly, it looked nice. Like it was Frank Miller's Batman, which was really nice to have on cinema. Superman suit looked really good. Wonder Woman looked fantastic. But yeah, that's kind of about it. It looked nice.
so okay, so that's 3-1. I think all of us can agree, especially Steve, at this point in time, that the movie definitely looked like a comic book movie. There were things
Yeah.
in there that I had never seen before, which I was praying for. And I think all of us can agree that also that this movie has major plot issues and character development. So since Steve was the only one that didn't like the movie, and he actually did the 180 on your side over there, Steve, tell us, in more details what you couldn't stand about this movie versus, what you accepted in Man of Steel.
Okay, what I accepted in Man of Steel is that it is Zack Snyder, so obviously I'm set up for disappointment a little bit. And that I knew that the movie would look nice. So that had one thing going for it. Now, I will admit there were some parts of the movie that were done well, like the Wonder Woman parts and like the Bruce Wayne parts. Those were really nice. But I've come to accept that Superman isn't a Boy Scout in Zack Snyder's universe, so whatever, that's fine. He can go on a murdering spree, yada yada yada. But everything else is just utterly atrocious. It honestly it hurt me to see this movie. Like physically, I was debating going to a hospital. I thought I had blood loss. It was really where do I start? Just on a fundamental level, not even getting to like the movie or the story of the movie or anything like that. Just on a character fundamental base, they messed up the one key thing about Batman, which is he doesn't kill people. Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
we're about 10 minutes. We always fucking forget that. We always forget.
We're gonna
You're about
spoil the living crap out of this. So
yeah.
Yeah,
So make sure
spoilers.
you've seen the movie before you listen to this review because you're going to go into details and we're probably going to spoil things that you didn't even know about that were happening in the movie. Uh, hashtag dark side.
Yeah,
hashtag Zod's back.
accurate.
All right, go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
So, just on a fundamental level, they ruined the one thing about Batman that makes Batman kind of Batman is that he doesn't kill people. Now, yes, Batman has killed people in like previous movies, and he has killed people in his comic book line. But for an overall feeling, it's that he intentionally tries not to murder people because if he crosses that line, he knows he can't come back. So he's always tried to keep that moral high ground. From my body count, this movie is like 30 people, but apparently the official body count's like somewhere in the 50s.
That's just Batman, though, right?
No, yeah, that's just for Batman.
What is he, the Punisher?
I know, right? Like, he literally decapitates people with his Batmobile when he comes out of that building. Like those people are dead. Literally pasted the rubber on the Batmobile's tires. And
Yeah.
just he literally cuts an SUV in half with the machine guns that are on the Batmobile. He just and this is not even counting like the kills that are in like the nightmare sequence. This is just like real world kills. He literally just goes around like, oh no, I have to fight you, bang. Sorry, I don't want to deal with this. Bye. He literally Indiana Jones the entire movie. There's supposed to be a fight sequence here. I know that, but I'm lazy. Bang. And
Okay,
it's
so my question is, why would you accept Batman's killing? And he doesn't outright ever really kill anyone. He doesn't save any of the bad guys. And my argument for kind of accepting Batman's kills in how he's doing it in this movie is that it's basically been done in almost every Batman movie to date.
Mhm.
Even the original
Tim Burton one, or
Tim Burton one. I mean,
yeah.
don't forget he blows up Ace Chemicals, and there's a lot of minions in that building,
Yeah,
and he
well,
doesn't
there were
save
about
any
like
of them.
20 people in there or so. Like,
Right, but they're dead. And then
no,
he doesn't save Ra's al Ghul or anybody on that train from the League of Shadows on there, so they're all dead. Um, when he causes the explosion before in Batman Begins, when he causes the explosion because he won't execute that other person, he doesn't execute the one criminal, but he kills everybody in the League of Shadows that's stuck in that building. So
And then
Batman
in
has a pretty big body count. So I think for me and BJ, we talked about this that there wasn't like an outright kill for Batman in this,
it was
but
like
there was
it's like
definitely a lot
collateral
of
damage.
minions.
A lot of collateral
Yeah,
damage.
yeah, there's a lot of collateral damage that Batman has always caused in even the best Batmans that we've ever seen. So I was okay with that because Batman just doesn't have in this type of a world doesn't have the capability of fighting 10 guys or fighting 20 guys and pulling them all out of a building. He just doesn't have that capability, whereas Superman does. So that's why we didn't accept it in Man of Steel. So it's kind of interesting that you're not accepting it from Batman, where we've seen Batman kill from the very first movie that we've ever seen him in the Tim Burton version.
well, no,
Yeah.
yeah, and like, and I 100% am the first to say that. Yeah, I fully know that Batman kills, but in those movies, it wasn't like outright like I have a gun, bang, 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 bang. And now, yeah, I will admit that in other cinematic versions, the Batmobile or Bat vehicles did have weaponry. I 100% agree with that. But it's completely different using like a gun or a cannon to like clear a roadblock, like in Batman. I mean, in The Dark Knight Rises, or like using guns to like destroy an obstacle rather than like cutting an SUV in half full of people, or dragging or flipping over a car, killing the four men inside of that, dragging the car behind you, and then catapulting it into another car, killing everyone in there.
Well, he kind of does do some of that damage in The Dark Knight Rises, where he is in I guess they call it the Bat. He's flying around
Oh
in the
yeah.
air, and he's basically destroying all the tumblers that have people in it, two or three people in the tumblers. So he does kind of do it in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't really have a problem with them doing all that stuff. The problem that I had is some of the details. The details. Like he's upset with Superman destroying Metropolis and destroying the Wayne building. He's upset about that. But yet at the end of the movie, he says, "Oh, I'm gonna have Doomsday follow me into the city so I can stab it." And I'm like, "Why would you bring that beast into the city when you know it's gonna thrash everything?" You know. So I mean, some of the things that he did were really questionable. But
I think for me, my two biggest issues with this movie is another underdeveloped uh, character development for Superman and Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Those are my
oh
two
god,
biggest issues with
yeah,
this
yeah,
movie.
me too.
So with the Superman thing, there's this great scene that that Zack Snyder films where it's right after the explosion in the courtroom and Superman is standing there, not like a scratch on him, and he's got like these tears in his eyes where he's just like, I can't believe all these people died, and I'm just like, and I couldn't, like, I didn't stop it and I didn't know about it, and like, I'm gonna get blamed for all these deaths and it's my fault that I did this. And
Right.
there's that like it's a gorgeous shot. Like it's just I've never seen anything like that for a Superman movie or comic book movie. And Snyder never really he tries to go back to that plot or that character development, and he never really fully realizes it because the next time you really see him battle or have that conflict within himself is that scene where he's on the balcony with Lois, and by that time about 45 minutes have already passed since that courtroom scene, and it's cut in there with a ton of action and stuff like that, and I felt like if they developed Superman's conflict about being Superman better in that movie, that his sacrifice at the end of the movie would have weighed more heavily for the overall plot. And then going back to Jesse Eisenberg, there were people in the theater when he first really starts talking and starts, you know, going off on these tangents when he's giving that speech at his party where Bruce and Clark meet. There were people laughing in the theater, like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This is my Lex Luthor."
Yeah, I wanted to literally punch a baby. I was so pissed off. Like I could not stand him at all.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, he was
he had
terrible.
Tourette's syndrome or something. He was just
And they
wacky.
tried to make him like this, like super genius with like this ADD type thing where he couldn't keep a straight thought. Tried to make him really smart, and all it came across was I pictured this guy like that person in high school trying to be like a know-it-all and trying to be like this bookworm and try to shove his knowledge in your face, and all you want to do is shove him in a fucking locker and pour piss on him.
Right, right. The thing that really ticked me off with Zack Snyder is that again he did a disservice to Superman. He spent more time developing Batman and even developing Lex Luthor a little bit more than he did Superman. And he touched on some stuff about Superman that could have been great, but then he backed off and let too much time pass. And then you had that
Yeah,
scene on the balcony with Lois Lane that touched it a little bit. Then you had the scene which I still have no idea why they filmed it, but he's like on top of a mountain with his dead dad, talking to him, and I was
while
like,
he's
"What?"
awake.
Well,
While he's
yeah,
awake.
I'm like, "What?" I didn't understand that at all. Like
There was like a lot of nightmare, like a lot of nightmare or dream
a
sequences in
lot
this
of
movie.
dreaming. Jesus.
Yeah, it was like what Arrow does with flashbacks. It was really annoying.
Yeah, I couldn't stand. Take you out of the action. It takes you out of the movie and shows you this stuff, and
It's
you're
really confusing
confused.
too.
Yeah,
It's really confusing because there's that there's that point in the movie where he's trying to Batman's trying or Bruce Wayne's trying to decrypt the file, and he has a dream about a future where apparently Lois is dead and Batman killed Lois or whatever, and it looks like Superman has given in to helping Darkseid take over the Earth. And he's dreaming that, and I was like, "Wait a minute, he's not a Jedi. How the fuck does he?
and
How the
that was
fuck
the.
does he like
That's
have a
what I
force
said.
dream?"
I th- I
And then
think that
all of
was
a
the.
sudden,
I think
and then
that was
all
the
of a
Flash
sudden,
talking to him, wasn't
right?
it?
And then all of a sudden, the Flash shows up
Yeah,
because out of nowhere, and he doesn't even really look like the Flash. And I don't even know what Ezra Miller looks like. It's not like they got like Brad Pitt to play the Flash and told everybody that Brad Pitt was going to be the Flash, and then you see him like nobody knows who the fuck Ezra Miller is. So when he showed up, I was like, "Who the fuck is that guy?" Because
yeah. They what?
until I got out of the movie, I thought it was a boom tube
Yeah,
from Darkseid or whatever that storyline.
yeah.
So and then that's us. That's us. These
Yeah,
are people that are actually
yeah.
like paying attention to comics and shit, and we're confused on it. So think about how that's going to go with the normal movie goer. So what do you
Yeah,
guys think about those things? I know Steve, you can weigh in probably, but Dan, I want to know what you thought about those.
Oh, especially like the dream sequences. I like to your guys' point. It just there was just too many of them, and it just broke the movie up when it could have been used to like develop Superman, for example. And like the talking to Jonathan on the mountain, like like I don't get how he just talks to him and then he isn't there. Like he's just like hallucinating. I'm like what is that?
Yeah, that's the superhero I want, the all powerful basic god who's fucking hallucinating. That's who I
Right?
want
And
protecting me.
then and then the whole the like the Inception dream with the like the Earth slash apocalypse, and then he wakes up from that, and then the Flash, who I didn't even know was the Flash, I thought it was like Orion or like
Yeah, that's
Red
what I
Hood
thought
or
too.
like Red Hood or something,
yeah, yeah.
and like that doesn't look like him at all. Like Flash doesn't wear freaking armor,
No, he doesn't. He
so
doesn't wear a helmet that looks like he was on a motorcycle.
yeah,
You know that
exactly,
helmet? Did you guys see Big Hero 6?
yeah,
Okay, so remember that chick that was on skates with that helmet? She had that glass shield over her face.
Mhm.
yeah,
That's what that helmet looked like. So I
yeah.
was like, okay, cool.
So
Big Hero 6 is in this.
So then he wakes up from the apocalypse dream, and then the Flash like gives him some warning, and then he wakes up from that. So my question is, how when did Flash get the ability to go into people's
Oh
dreams?
my God, he had
Yeah, totally.
dude, dude. Zack Snyder wants to be fucking. He wants to be fucking Christopher Nolan so bad he did a fucking Inception.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was an Inception scene. Like, what is this?
He did a dream within a dream. That's
Like,
fucking that's
first
Inception
of
right
all,
there.
how does Bruce even know what Apocalypse even looks like? That's impossible.
Oh, you mean Dark Side?
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's the
no, it's
part
like
that we don't understand either because he
yeah,
doesn't have Bruce Wayne does not have that. He has no ability basically.
yeah,
He
like
has no super ability.
he's
No.
never been to the planet. Like he shouldn't know what it looks like whatsoever. And that was a pretty accurate representation of. And then he
Well,
wakes
that
up
was
from
actually
that.
Earth.
Well, yeah, no, but it had like Apocalypse qualities to it, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
body
He had
and all that
the
stuff.
Omega. The
The
Omega
Omega
sign was
symbol
in the
and all that.
sand.
Well, okay. So this is what Vic and I's take on this because we talked about it. But again, it's just them trying to set up a Justice League movie. So like they have to oh, we have to show you what's going to come and all this stuff. But all they had to do was that last scene with Lex Luthor. He says something worse is coming, and that's all they really needed to do. They didn't have to do all those dream sequences.
Yeah,
It didn't make
and
any
then
sense.
the whole like Bruce waking up and then Flash coming in and warning Bruce. I was just so confused. Like when did Flash can't dream travel?
No,
I
he could
can't.
time travel, but he can't dream travel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, the nightmares were really bizarre. And also, I think the worst offense ever was the Justice League in a fucking email. Made
yeah,
absolute no sense.
Yeah, they those things took me right out of the movie. My complaint about that, and BJ, I don't think this bothers you as much, but it bothers me because essentially Lex Luthor has been tracking metahumans, and but the files have a folder with their symbols on that, and I'm like, well, how does he know the symbols that are on? Like he creates the symbols, like because I would have been better off like and so me and BJ talked about this is exactly how Batman v Superman should have happened. It should have focused on three things. It should have focused on why Batman has an issue with Superman. It should have focused on Superman's conflict
Hmm.
within himself and a little bit of how he doesn't agree with Batman. And then it should have been somebody other than Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, where his reveal about him having all these things going on doesn't happen until the very end of the movie, but you
Yes.
get to see like this strong business type of Lex Luthor, and then all these like it's almost like they were trying to pull like what happened in the Dark Knight, where the Joker kind of has all these like brilliant schemes and all these endings that you don't see happening, but because it's a Zack Snyder movie, he had to tell us everything that was fucking going on without having us guess what was going on.
It was so irritating. He acted as if we're, as an audience, were stupid, but
yeah,
yet he did put stuff in there that made me feel stupid, like the dream sequences.
Yeah, he
But the
over
thing,
explained it so much that he confused the shit out of us.
yeah.
right?
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah,
Exactly. And the way like Vic and I were talking about it, what it should have happened was when he stuck that jump drive in his computer, it should took the rest of the movie to figure it out. And then by the end of the movie, it should have showed the email with the symbols. He didn't click on it, but then next thing you know, he's at the gravesite with Miss Prince telling her, "Hey, we need to put the team together." And that's the way it should have ended. Just
yeah.
boom. Because by showing the heroes in the
In the
email
middle of the movie.
in the middle of the movie, takes you out of the movie. Number one, number two, the images they show are so fucking boring, and you don't give a shit. Like especially Aquaman's video was so stupid, compared to the other ones. Like Cyborgs, I thought was the best, but that's not really saying much. It looked like a clip taken out of a TV show, is what that looked like.
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't need to show. They didn't need to show us a damn thing. They could have just all they
Nothing,
needed to do is just
nothing.
tease the files and cut, and that's it.
That's it.
Don't show us the Flash coming through. Don't show us the Omega Dream, the Apocalypse Omega Dream.
No.
Don't. And then what what everybody was saying, and I think you guys touched on this too, that Wonder Woman like kind of like stole the show. I didn't think she stole the show because I had seen so much of the footage already.
Yeah,
Where
I didn't think so.
for me, I thought the better reveal would have been if like so Dan and Steve, just imagine this. Try to follow along with this. So remember how Christopher Nolan kind of hid Talia al Ghul from people and said gave her a different name and shit like that. And Well, I think in this one, what would have been better is if they don't show us anything about Wonder Woman. They don't even tell us that Wonder Woman is in the movie. They just say that Diana Prince, or sorry, not Diana Prince. That would reveal it. But they just say Gal Gadot is playing this mysterious woman who is trying to steal something from Lex Luthor, and
There you
that's
go.
it. That's all you
That's
had to
it.
tell us,
That's it.
right? Because now Dan and Steve, going into this movie thinking like you don't know who the fuck this woman is, and then all of a sudden, the reveal happens when the flight attendant turns to Diana Prince and says, "Miss Prince, you need to get back to your seat." Now, think about the fucking goosebumps that goes through your fucking body when she name drops Diana Prince. And then all of a sudden, you see her show up in full Wonder Woman costume. But because we had known about this, like, a year in advance and shown us so much fucking footage, it wasn't a big deal when she finally showed up.
It's not just that, but in the email, he found a fucking picture of her dressed as Wonder Woman during the World
Right,
War
right,
One.
right,
I mean,
exactly.
they just shove it in your face through the whole time. So when she pops up at the end, I didn't get goosebumps. I went, "Oh yeah, I saw that in the commercial." All right.
What do you guys think?
I 100% agree with that. And like going back to the dream sequence, I 100% agree with you guys on that point. And if for any reason Zack Snyder 100% felt like he needed to put that dream sequence in there to make his movie a movie, give it to someone who makes sense, like Wonder Woman. She's based on Greek mythology. Have it be a vision from the Oracle or a vision from
Oh yeah, good
Hera.
point.
Ooh,
Nice.
that's
I like
good.
that.
Good pull.
Tony.
Exactly. Like, have it be something like that where it ties in a little bit of Wonder Woman's mythos and the fact that she takes so much from Greek mythology, being a
Yeah.
Themyscirian. Like, it really made absolutely no sense for Batman to have that dream because, like Dan said, he would have no idea what the apocalypse terraforming looks like. He would have no idea who Darkseid is. He would have no idea what the Omega symbol means. Yeah, and he wouldn't, at that point in time, he wouldn't even know who Flash was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You know what, and we talked about this too. I think so. Like, did you guys read up on like what was going on like with that sequence that they actually filmed it in the 70 millimeter IMAX footage? So like that whole dream sequence, that whole nightmare sequence with Darkseid basically being teased probably cost like 25-50 million dollars. So then how do you
yeah.
justify? So then they kind of back themselves into a corner where it's like, how do you justify cutting a 50 million sequence, $50 million sequence out of a
Mhm.
movie?
I don't
Because
know.
if you take that scene out and move it to somebody else or don't even show it, like how do you justify to the studios that you just wasted $50 million? So
Well,
like
you
there was no they couldn't cut it from the movie. It was just too expensive.
yeah, but they could have took it out and then tacked it on the very beginning of the Justice League movie. They could have done something.
Yeah, but even if you tack it onto the beginning of the Justice League movie, it doesn't solve the problem that Bruce Wayne doesn't have those abilities and neither does the Flash.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'll be
I don't know.
100% honest with the Flash looking like that. Like, I have not seen anything on Ezra Miller's Flash. And like you guys said, I have no idea who the hell Ezra Miller is. I honest to God thought that that was Orion the New God coming through a boom tube to warn Batman about what Darkseid would do.
I was right there with you, Steve. I thought I even
Mhm.
said to BJ, I was like,
Mhm.
I was like, so I was calling it a boom tube, and then like I read an article yesterday that said that it was the Flash, and I'm like, what? That was the fucking Flash? How the fuck is that the Flash? When does he actually time rip through a dream?
Yeah, I don't
Because of Flash Inception, that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio's in the future helping him.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was terrible. So one thing I liked the dynamic between Batman and Alfred. I thought Jeremy Irons was awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jeremy
he was
Irons
good.
knocked it out of the park with that.
I
Yep.
think that Amy Adams was misused and Martha Kent was misused
Oh my
again.
God, Martha Kent has the worst line in the fucking movie that contradicts everything about Superman in that fucking film.
Yep.
Where she it's right after where he's like conflicted about being Superman and helping people, and then
Hmm.
she's like, be their hero, be their whatever, or
We're
be
gonna.
none of it because you don't owe this world anything. And I'm like, asshole, you're fucking kidding me. You're basically like, and then when she gets kidnapped at the end of the movie or towards the end of the movie, I'm like, I bet you want him to be fucking Superman now.
Be somebody.
Exactly.
Be an in and out employee. Come on.
Yeah, but
Be
only be Superman to save my ass.
yeah. Work at Burger King.
It's like, goddamn, Martha, roll it back a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Like seriously, can you? I know your husband's dead and all, but obviously everybody needs Superman. Stop telling him not to fucking be Superman.
And on the Martha thing, something that super annoys me is that Batman is supposedly the world's greatest detective. He knew who Superman was. Why was he so surprised about Superman's mom's name? And I love how after that it's like, why are you saying Martha? Lois comes in, that's his mother's name, and then he's like, okay, we're best friends. My mom's Martha, your mom's Martha. We're practically family. Let's go fight a bad guy.
So
Basically,
okay,
yeah.
so I have to confess, I've been watching comic book movies and comic book cartoons and reading comic books for fucking ever. And when he name dropped Martha, I was like, wait a minute, they both have the same fucking name. It never fucking dawned on me that Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent's mother was the fucking same thing.
You're the worst reporter in the world.
So so I guess both Batman and Clark Kent are
They're
really bad
both
because
stupid, dude. Because
because
Clark
Clark had no fucking clue who the richest, most powerful man on the face of the earth was, and the
and
world's
he's a
greatest
reporter.
detective had no idea who Clark Kent's mother was.
Failures, both of them.
Especially since Gotham City's like right across the bay from this
I
metropolis.
know.
Like,
What
how
was
do
up with
you not
that?
know who the
So
richest
does
man
that
in
mean
Gotham
so
is?
does that mean Gotham is like New Jersey?
Yes.
Basically.
Basically.
All right, so that was fought in like Jersey City or Hoboken.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
And now it is trashed.
So
Sorry.
then that means the fight with Doomsday was happening on what, like Ellis Island?
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
basically.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty much the Hero Park.
Yeah, there you go.
Nope.
There's
Yep.
a there's a really bad edit job. There's a really bad edit job in that when you just brought up the harbor thing about being across from the harbor where so it's right after they become best friends all of a sudden and Batman goes to save Martha Kent and there's like 10, 15 minutes that fly by, right? After he saves her. And then you cut and then Superman just ends up landing in the heart of Metropolis where Doomsday is being built or made. And it took him 15 minutes to fly across the harbor. Where the fuck did he go for 10 minutes?
He wanted to get a coffee or something. Batman had to use his Bat credit card.
Oh yeah. So hands down, the best part of that movie for me was actually seeing Batman fight.
Yeah.
You know, when Alfred drops him off on the second floor, and that whole fight was pretty awesome.
It was, but they showed like a minute of it in the fucking trailer, and it's really
I
annoying that
know.
all the cool sequences were teased in the trailers because they had no fucking confidence in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah, they kind of blew their wad in the trailers. They pretty much told the whole movie in the trailer, with the exception of Superman dying. But I kind of knew that was going to happen because Doomsday kills him. I mean, essentially,
Yeah.
in the comic book. So
I
you
didn't, for
know,
some reason, I didn't get that. I know like Doomsday is the one who kills Superman, but I just didn't think you would, and here's why: because you just introduced Superman and you didn't give him anything to do in this movie, and you're going to kill him off. Like
well, he'll yeah, you
like for,
know.
I guess I was thinking too logically and not thinking like Zack Snyder.
Yeah. That that was honestly like one of like the top two biggest problems with me in this movie. It is one, the fact that he just took Zod's body and then basically sprinkled him with some blood and he became Doomsday was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So basically what that's saying is if Superman and Lois were ever to have a kid, it would be Doomsday.
It'd be a baby
It'd be a
Doomsday.
baby Doomsday. Is what they're saying. That's what I got from that. And then you like growing up in the 90s, the death of Superman storyline was like one of the biggest ones in comics around.
Oh
And
yeah.
you basically shoehorn that in the last 15 minutes of this movie for no fucking reason. Like, I think, like, personally, I think, yeah, we don't give a shit about the Superman because Zack Snyder made it that way. But you can't, like, I feel like that particular storyline, the death of Superman storyline, deserved better than just being tossed into the end of this movie.
Right.
That pissed
Yeah,
me
it
off.
definitely did. It definitely did. And I mean, all of our points about Superman's death are spot on. Like like plot wise, it doesn't make any sense, and you only give like 5 minutes to it because I was just waiting for the whole time for something to happen where he was coming back, and they waited, of course, until the very, very, very end where the dirt started floating up.
Yeah.
So
Why did it start floating up? That didn't make any sense either.
because that's what happens in the Man of Steel when he first learns how to fly. The gravity around him starts like being altered a little bit. So if you go back to Man of Steel, when he first learns how to fly, it's right after he crashes into the mountain after he falls. So apparently Superman's a really fast learner. So he jumps. Remember, he jumps a few times and he
Oh,
thinks
okay.
like he's flying, and then he falls and crashes into the mountain, and then he does this like I don't know. He does like this like rock breath. If you watch
Oh, it
wrestling at all, he
shakes. It
does like the
shakes
rock.
the yeah. It
He does
shakes
the
the
rock.
floor.
He does the
Oh,
rock
it's
where
funny.
he takes a breath, takes a deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
looks at the sun, and then he kneels down and puts his fist into the ground, and that's where the dirt. That's where the dirt starts flying up a little, like floating a little bit in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
So that's basically what that was teasing. Like, I guess he was going to fly out of there, but there was two grave diggers there. So like, if he was going to fly out of there, once again, people are going to know that he's fucking Superman because apparently everybody knew who every person who got top billing in this movie knew who each other was. Like Lex
Hey,
knew
Yeah.
who
do you
Bart and
remember?
Bruce were.
Do you remember Superman died earlier in the movie too when he sent Darkseid up in space and got hit with the nuclear blast?
You mean Doomsday?
Doomsday. Sorry. See, I get too many D bad guys.
Yeah, that was that scene where Superman was like all almost like a corpse or whatever
Looks like a
was kind of
zombie.
like he looked a little bit like Superman in the Flashpoint
Oh
cartoon.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That was pretty trippy though. Uh, but
Well, they basically teased it like that he already died there, and then he just came back. So like, if you're a smart moviegoer, like I'm thinking the whole time, like, why don't you just put him in the fucking sun?
well,
Like, fly him down to fucking Hawaii or Florida and put him in the sun.
well, so the whole problem again is like his death had little to no impact at all, and it kind of reminded me of when Dumbledore died in the movie version of Harry Potter. It just had very little impact versus how the book portrayed it was way more heartfelt, way more emotional. So like Superman's death was not emotional at all for me. I just went, oh, okay, he'll be back in Justice League Part One. Okay,
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
for
know,
me,
that
it
kind of.
was just for me, it was just shocking that they actually killed him because of those points that I said that his character was really underdeveloped and he just killed, the big gun basically. So like I was kind of shocked that they actually went ahead and did that. But then again, it is
Oh,
a
I
Zack
see.
Snyder movie,
Movie.
so it makes sense for Zack
Well, I
Snyder.
guess if you're gonna kill the one person off that you know can come back, that would be the guy. I mean,
Well, it's
If
comic
you
books. You
kill
can kill
Batman, he's
anybody.
dead.
You can kill anybody in
You kill
comics.
Batman, he's dead. You know, whatever.
honestly, like when Superman gets shot by the nuke, that comes from directly the Dark Knight Returns comic book. Shoot, the book
Hmm.
a lot better. And I love how the fact it's like, are they high enough? Yeah, President, what do you want to do? We got nukes? Yep, fire away. Fuck it, let's just do it. And
Yeah,
then,
that was kind of weird.
especially because the last movie, Superman's like, I'm here to help you guys. Cool, you're on our side. Is he in space? Cool, let's try nuking him. Let's see if that works. And then, like, what would have been such a cooler action sequence is I know Kryptonite, for its entire existence, has always had varying effects on Superman, depend on the amount of theme music behind him and his personal gusto.
Yeah,
So, what would have been an awesome sequence is Superman rises from the water, right? He throws this spear. It doesn't make it all the way to Superman. Now, this once again goes back to the Wonder Woman's Greek heritage. She grabs the spear and, like, Olympian throws it into Darkseid. I mean,
like a
not Darkseid,
javelin.
Doomsday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that would have been cool. That would actually been pretty cool.
and oh my
And
God, General
in good
Doomsday.
respect.
I
Doomsday was just a waste of a character. Doomsday could not have been like like I fuck. I mean, you used like a major character in the comic book world to it's just a throwaway character. Like I mean,
exactly.
he basically did to Doomsday what Joel Schumacher did with Bane.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then I 100% agree because, like, you see, if Doomsday is one of those reoccurring villains, and he, even though Doomsday himself, people think that he's like a stupid brute. He's actually not. In the comic books, he's very smart. Or before Superman lobotomizes him, he's actually quite smart.
Right.
But the problem is that they literally took one of Superman's biggest villains, killed him within like a 15-minute time span, and there's no way to come back from that. He got a kryptonite shard to the heart, so he's dead.
Yeah.
And normally, like when you think about Doomsday, he has the kryptonite resistance and he has resistances that Superman don't have. But I just feel like it's such a waste to take a character like Doomsday, one, breed
Dark
him,
Nemesis.
one, breed him out of Zod, and then two, kill him in the same movie he appears. It just doesn't make any sense.
No,
Mm.
they did a terrible job with that. They did again. Like Lois Lane is wasted. I like Perry White's character. He was pretty
I
funny.
loved it. I love Perry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the one thing that made me actually laugh.
yeah, yeah.
I think when you did see Gal Gadot as Diana Prince, she was good.
Reacted at
Ben
all.
Affleck. Ben Affleck was pretty good. I didn't have a
Yeah,
problem with him at all. Henry Cavill, unfortunately, is just really with a bad director. He needs somebody that actually gives a shit about Superman,
yeah.
because you're wasting a pretty decent actor and somebody who comic book wise looks as close to Superman as you're ever going to get. Um, I mean that dude. I mean that dude looks like Superman. Seriously, that dude is fucking Superman. I mean, with like Brandon Routh, he didn't have blue eyes, so he had to wear contacts, and he's not as
Right,
jacked. I mean,
right.
Superman's fucking jacked in the comic books, and I mean, Henry Cavill is fucking. I mean, he looks like his everything about him looks like Superman. Seriously,
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
I agree.
and he's being wasted. He's being wasted by Zack Snyder.
he is.
See, my point of view is all the heroes and Alfred and like Perry, all of them are great at their character, if that makes
Yes,
sense. Like if you were
yes.
to take them out, they are perfect at their character. The problem is that the stories that they're written in and what the actors have to work with just completely overshadows that, and it just completely destroys it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that whole beginning of the movie was so many different jump cuts and just so many edits from back and forth, that those characters didn't get to shine a lot, when they were on screen. They just would say a line and then it would be over with. So
Exactly.
like, so Perry's and Lois Lane's characters were kind of. That was interesting with Lois Lane, seeing Lois Lane and Superman get it on in the bathtub. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, I was thinking immediately of Kevin Smith when that happened. When I was like, is Superman about to kill Lois Lane right here?
Wow. He's got to wear a kryptonite condom.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise Doomsday is going to pop out and it's the end of the world.
Yeah. That's where Wonder Woman comes in and is like, you don't need you can free ball it with me.
Right.
You don't need to wear your suit with me, Superman.
Give it all you got, Superboy.
Yeah, just blast it on my face. I'm good.
So it was kind of cool seeing Wonder Woman use some of her powers. I've heard that, and they've kind of saving some of the goodies for her movie, but I liked seeing her use her bracelets and the lasso of truth was
I
No,
was
pretty
yeah,
cool.
I was so happy they used the bracelets correctly.
Yes.
I was like, please God, don't waste the bracelets, if nothing else.
one thing that I really loved about it was the fact that they used the bracelets shockwave effect. Like not many people know about that, but that they actually do that. If they reverberate it together, they make a giant shockwave.
Yeah, and it pushed Doomsday back quite a bit.
I wonder if
Exactly.
it's made out of. I wonder if it's made out of vibranium.
Probably.
Different movie. Different
Yeah, I
movie.
know.
We probably stopped by Wakanda on the way over to pick them up.
Yeah.
Well, what else? What else did you? I mean, some of the details.
Well, let's do this.
Yeah.
We basically spent the first half hour trashing the movie, but three out of four of us actually did enjoy the movie.
Yes.
Let's 3 out of the 4 of us. So we gave Steve his bashing of the first half hour. So let's try to move into things that we actually did like in this movie, because again, I was thoroughly entertained in this movie as opposed to Man of Steel.
This definitely was more of a popcorn movie than the other movie. The other one was just taking itself too seriously. It was like too gloomy and boring, and this movie was way more popcorny and entertaining. And I mean, but the thing I'll just start. The thing that I really really liked, I enjoyed was I forgot that Affleck was in the movie because I really enjoyed his Bruce Wayne and his Batman.
Dan?
Um, well, I was one of the ones that when Affleck was first announced as Batman, I didn't hate it like so many other people did. Like I think like the work he did in like The Town and Argo
Yep.
showed that he could take like a role like this and do well in it, and he didn't disappoint. I honestly thought that his Bruce Wayne was one of the better ones that has come out. Um, Also, I like how while they did give away Wonder Woman's like costume in that World War One photo, I kind of feel like they're trying to do like a Captain America type deal with her. Like
Hmm.
with her movie, they're gonna go back to like her past and do like something like that. So I really I really liked how they portrayed her in that movie. Um, I think Alfred was really well done. Jeremy Irons is one of my favorite actors that did really well. Perry did really well. So like a lot of the people that weren't the main characters played played really well. Like Lois
Hmm.
wasn't, but that was more writing
Yeah.
than
Than the
anything
actress.
just
Yeah.
Yeah.
sucking as an actress. But like other than that, I think like that was really what I enjoyed.
I had moments in the movie where like I was like, that was fucking awesome. So right off the bat, I was like, this movie blows. I'm not kidding. And it happened with like right away, I gotta fucking watch Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne fucking killed again.
Yeah, you got
And
her
like,
name right. Good job.
yeah, yeah. So I was thinking like that whole sequence should have been just cut and it starts
Yeah,
immediately with the destruction of Metropolis.
Yes.
yeah. We
That would
Because
have
didn't
I
even
been
don't
way
because
more impactful.
even as a normal moviegoer, and you had to have seen at least one Batman in your lifetime, or known that Bruce Wayne's parents were killed and that's why he becomes Batman. I don't need to fucking see it again. I don't need to see the entire sequence again.
we didn't need
Let
to see
alone
it for the
open the movie
16th time. We get it. They're in the alley and they die. Move
Yeah,
along,
like
please.
yeah, because the whole thing is teased later on when he has another nightmare when he's visiting the mausoleum where it says Martha Kent, and then
Bleeding.
he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
the quick cuts that happen later on when Superman calls out Martha. So you didn't need to see that whole sequence.
No.
So, but I loved the Metropolis destruction scene with Bruce Wayne in it. I loved the scene where I think my favorite scene is that Superman scene in the courtroom where he's just standing
Oh
there,
yeah. That's
just
the
completely
best.
like like if I don't even know what a hopeless Superman looks like, but that is as close as it's gonna get. Like I've never seen a superhero so like helpless and hopeless and that powerful.
That was the one time I actually cared about Superman was that scene. Like
Yes,
actually,
and that's
the
why it's so
Snyder,
disappointing that he never went back to
yeah,
it.
No,
Snyder
they
was
just
actually
cut
able
away
to
and that
get
was it.
an emotional connection for me to Superman out of that scene, and then they didn't go anywhere. I was so mad.
Yeah, that scene, I think that's my favorite scene in the entire movie. I loved watching Affleck be Batman. I loved watching him fight. I loved
Dude, the Batmobile was pretty sick.
it was pretty good. Let's see, I'm trying to think like what else like stood out to me. There was oh this the scene leading up to the courtroom was pretty cool. Like I said this before to BJ off air. Um my favorite Lex Luthor scene does not have Lex Luthor in it.
That
Or does not have Jesse Eisenberg in it. And it's the scene leading up to the explosion
was
where
gross.
Holly Hunter is turning the peach tea, and I was like, oh my god, that's so fucking Lex Luthor right there. Like it's so like it was almost like a callback to the Joker in the courtroom where the judge turns the card over.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But like
Yeah,
it
it was
gave me
wicked.
goosebumps because I was like, oh, that's wicked smart. Like that he's like, that he's got like all this planning ahead that he actually put that thing there, and then all of a sudden the explosion happens. So like my favorite Lex Luthor scene does not have Jesse Eisenberg in
Yeah,
it.
and they couldn't pin it on him. I mean, that was
Right, it was
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that scene stands out the most to me because so Man of Steel was what like almost 2 hours long or two
Mhm.
hours long.
About that.
So and then Batman v Superman was what 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4.5 hours of movie, I emotionally was like connected to one character for 30 seconds in 4.5 hours of film.
Right. Pretty much.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah, it is pretty sad. I
But
and
that's my favorite. That's my favorite scene. And Steve, I know you didn't like the movie, but what was the thing that you actually liked the most about the movie?
And, s- well, I'll admit, like the movie for me, I didn't like it. There were a lot of good parts in it. You guys hit a lot of the parts that I like in it, and I I kind of agree with you that my favorite Lex Luthor scene is when Lex Luthor isn't in it, and we get to see like the kind of like maniacal genius that Lex Luthor is. And one thing that kind of upsets me is that Lex Luthor Sr., the actual Lex Luthor, is dead. And all we're stuck with is Lex Luthor Jr., aka Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
But I really there's a lot of parts that I did like. Like I love the Batman fight sequences, like when he was like fist fighting people. That was like pure like Arkham Knight like fighting. It was phenomenal. I loved every time Jeremy Irons was like talking to Bruce Wayne because it actually showed that like Alfred has been through with Bruce Wayne from the beginning, and he actually like cares about him and sees him changing rather than just being like his kind of like yes man butler. Yeah, he was like super witty and like super like snarky, which was fantastic for Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, yeah, I thought Alfred was really good in this. It definitely takes a step up above Michael Caine's version of Alfred. He's obviously a lot younger, and he's basically Alfred and Lucius Fox in
Yeah, yeah,
Orphan
he's
One.
That's
really scrappy, and pretty charming and funny.
I liked I liked the Batmobile, the Batcave. That was pretty cool. It was a very clean, uh, but still usable, Batcave. So that was I liked the design of a lot of things in the movie. I did not like the design of Doomsday, but
Yeah,
there
he
are
looked like
things.
a cave troll.
Well, he looked like one of the ogres or arc or whatever from the Lord of the Rings mixed
Yeah,
with like it was like one of the ogres or orcs from the Lord of the Rings had sex with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and that's what you got.
yeah, pretty
Well, the
much.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle from the Michael Bay produced ones, not.
a fan
Yeah,
fiction
let's be clear.
at the time.
Um, yeah, I mean, I can't. I just cannot believe that this movie is 30% because I mean, yeah, we spent a lot of time trashing it right now, but I really did enjoy this movie. Like at the end of the day, like I was really surprised that I was like I couldn't even believe it. It was like almost coming out of the closet, like if I was gay or something. I was like, I think I like this movie. Like I couldn't fucking believe it.
like like
You felt ashamed at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like, I think I need to go see, like I think I need to go to church or something
I
because
need
I
to go take a
couldn't believe
shower and sit in the corner and rock back and forth.
it. Yeah, like Ace Ventura chewing gum and chewing a shit ton of gum.
Yeah, brushing his teeth really hard.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I couldn't believe it. Like I was really surprised that I had a good time watching the movie. I mean, think like it took me like today's Saturday, so it took me a day and a half to process like the whole movie in my head, and at the end of the day, the movie is really got a lot of issues, but it was fucking fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was not a terrible movie like Fantastic Four or Man of Steel.
Yeah, I really.
it was fun.
What do
It
you
was
guys think
fun.
about what do you think about the rating, Dan and Steve? Like, I know Steve probably thinks it is a 30% movie, but I'm really surprised that it's that rated that bad because for me, I thought it was a much better movie than Man of Steel.
like I said, with my personal like with my like personal grudges against the movie aside, the movie isn't horrible. Like obviously I have problems with like the individual characters and like how some story was that kind of ruined the movie for me. But like non-biasly, the movie isn't that bad. It at least deserves like a 45-50 because you can obviously tell that this movie was taken in a different light than kind of Man of Steel, where
Mhm.
a little more care was like maybe accidentally put into it, but it was put into it either way.
So if you were giving it a rating versus the Rotten Tomatoes cumulative rating, you would rate it in the 40s. So you would actually rate it worse than Man of Steel.
Uh, I rate it like high 40s, low 50s.
Okay,
Okay.
so Man of
Okay.
Steel, I don't know if you know this, but Man of Steel is at 56% as a starting point. You would rate it lower than Man of Steel.
Okay, maybe like high 50s, low 60s then.
Okay, so then we're all based. What about you, Dan?
I would definitely like 60.
Okay, so we're basically all in the same boat. This is
Yeah.
the worst fucking debate ever.
I know because I said right away it should be 60. I don't think I don't think Steve is that far off when he said it was 40 because I think for him because the production how big this thing was it should have been rated really really high. So I think he's rating it low based on how big the movie is.
Right.
It should be rated high, but it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keep your 40%. I mean that's the way you feel about it. That's okay.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
mean, I can see that because pound for pound, this movie was way more money cost wise, $500 million if you add in marketing and shit like that.
Yeah, it's a shit ton of
Um,
money.
but
And Superman's also higher because it's like a single hero movie. Like this was supposed to be like their like pre-Avengers slash like Justice League esque type of movie. So I feel like with having so much things in it and so many opportunities, that giving it kind of like high 40-ish would kind of be like justified in my opinion at least because I feel there's
Mhm.
so much that they could have done and they put so much money and time into it that it could have been better.
you know what's crazy is that in Avengers 2, there's like actual lots of characters in it that you see screen time wise,
Mhm.
And the things that we collectively did not like about this movie was the fact that they, instead of just teasing the things at the end of the movie, like me and BJ had suggested about just showing the file being completely decrypted later on, and then just cutting away from that, not seeing anything. Those are the things that we actually didn't like about the movie, that it was pre-Justice League stuff, like that the Justice League stuff was kind of just thrown in your face.
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
it
Where
reminded me of Amazing Spider-Man 2 because they
yes,
they spent that whole movie trying to set up a Sinister Six movie and that they forgot to make a good Spider-Man movie. And that's where I felt about this movie is they added so much Justice League stuff. And I was like, we know it's fucking coming. Just
It's in the
make a
title.
good
Dawn of
movie.
Justice.
Yeah, make a good right. Make a good Batman v Superman movie. Don't worry about that other shit. You
yeah.
know.
I think what would have been really good is if it was like BJ, you sent me this article this morning, that Bryan Cranston was going to be the Lex Luthor, which would have been fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, that it was Lex Luthor that was, playing puppeteer the entire time, pitting Batman against Superman. Because
Right.
when he reveals that he's the one that's behind like all the newspaper clippings and shit like that, which really bothered me because the newspaper clippings, the writings and shit like that, almost looked like they were the Joker's writing on
Yeah,
the
that's what I thought.
bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, that didn't
So
make any
that bothered
sense.
me. But again, the big reveal at the end, it was just like I knew you were the dickhead asshole the whole time because you fucked the movie said it from the very fucking beginning that it was Lex Luthor playing puppeteer the whole time. So they failed at that point too, and it would have been such a better reveal if you found out that, I mean, we know Lex Luthor is the bad guy, but there's certain parts of stories in the Superman lore where Lex Luthor isn't the bad guy, and you can kind of see his point of view for not liking Superman or trying to protect Earth from people like Superman. You can see his point of view. But in this one, he's just like a spoiled little shit, and I just want to punch him so hard, like I don't even know how hard I want to
Well,
like Superman punch him.
they
Like
wrote. Yeah.
I feel like what would have been fantastic is after Jesse Eisenberg was put in jail, they don't kill Lex Luthor Sr., like actual Lex Luthor, and then Bryan Cranston comes in and like kind of goes with the tone that now that like my kind of shithead son is out of the way from trying to take the company from me, it's time for like the big boys to play and stuff like that.
Oh,
That would have been
that would
cool.
have been pretty cool
And
too.
that like he wanted his son to fail so that way he could step in, kind of like how they did in the comic books with Lex Luthor Jr. trying to take LexCorp away from
Oh,
Lex.
they did that in Smallville too.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, sure, you can have the company. Nope, just kidding. You suck ass. My turn.
Yeah, that would have been great, especially with an actor caliber like Brian. Because I mean, when you sent me that article this morning, and I'm picturing Bryan Cranston as Lex Luthor, and I'm picturing bits and pieces of him as Breaking Bad, where he's like this like stoic character, very confident, but very like very sneaky, conniving back end stuff that you had no idea what was going on,
hmm
And I was like, oh my god, that would have been a brilliant Lex Luthor. And then immediately I think, well, Zack Snyder would have been directing it, so it kind of would have been
Yeah.
disappointing anyway.
Right. He
Exactly.
wouldn't have character developed him at all. It would
No.
have been a waste. So it's probably a good thing he didn't put him in there.
Yeah. That's probably
Exactly.
why. That's probably why you fucking turned it down because you watched Man of Steel.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not, I'm not gonna do
He's like, what did
that.
Superman just do? Did he just fucking hop over that gas tanker and let all those
No,
people die? Fuck
Ba-
this.
Basically, everything comes back to the gas tanker.
Yes,
Everything does.
everything wrong with Zack Snyder's Superman comes back to that gas tanker.
Yeah, totally. Because he just doesn't understand the character at all.
So
You
Oh,
know.
basically,
clearly,
anything
because
that goes,
you actually put like the best scene that you filmed, minus all the action, minus all the special effects. The best scene that you film is that emotional touch that Steve, did you get that with the courtroom scene?
no, yeah, I really feel that that humanized and kind of gave us like an in-depth look on how taxing it can actually be to be Superman. That's not all
Right,
like
right.
smiles and like happy thoughts. It actually is like a job, and it's really emotional taxing on Clark. And I felt like that was a perfect illustration on how that was, and then it just completely got lost. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
can we go back to
yeah.
that? No? Okay, thanks, Zach.
I said this too. I was like, I said, my thought was, I almost wish there were two directors on this movie. I wish there was like, I wish Gus Van Sant was like directing like the emotional
The
character
dialogue.
development of the movie, and then Zack Snyder just develops the action, and then like somebody else edits it, like somebody else edits the movie together.
Oh yeah, if this was a collaboration, like don't get me wrong, Zack Snyder's very good at explosions and action sequence. By all means, he can direct that. But if they would have got someone who like keeps core to like character development and stuff like that, this movie would have completely just blown people away.
Yeah, I mean, think about how good this movie is if you develop like just develop that one Superman scene and show me the conflict within Superman the rest of the movie,
we would have
and then
cared.
the death and the death at the end would have been worth it.
Exactly. I think they try to like shoehorn it back in with like Jonathan Kent and like that whole scene, like, oh my god, he misses his dad and stuff like that. But it's like that's so after the fact. It's like people don't remember the court scene by that time because they're like, why is he talking to his dad? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he was upset.
They're
I
too
forgot.
busy. At that point in time, they're too busy figuring out, is this a dream or are you just hallucinating? Like, what's going on?
Exactly.
No, I can tell you right now, all of that stuff was added in to join the Man of Steel to this movie.
They
Yeah,
You
did
know,
that.
you know what
They
I'm
did
saying?
that. They should
Yeah.
have. They just did that with. I mean, there's other parts in the. You can make it smoother. I mean, seriously, I should really be in a fucking storyboarding session with fucking Zack Snyder.
Because if you remember, see, we'll go back to Iron Man. At the very end of Iron Man, we see Nick Fury. At the end of Man of Steel, we don't see any reveal that's going to tease Batman v Superman. So in Batman v Superman, we got to put Man of Steel stuff in there to join the movies together. See what I mean? So again, they think the audience is stupid, and
But
we forget.
but you could do that so much better. Just the opening scene itself with Bruce being in Metropolis during that fight is all you needed to
That's all you
connect with
needed.
Man of Steel.
Absolutely.
And
That's all you needed.
you could go from there. You don't need to waste like 10 minutes or wherever that is on the Jonathan scene. You could have
No,
and,
exactly.
and the problem is with the courtroom scene, you could have undone every like non-character development you did with Superman in Man of Steel. If you would have just built on that, even if that was by accident, if you had just built on that one scene leading up to his death, that would have fixed the 90% of the problem we have with this Superman. And they just didn't.
No.
Yeah, because they keep saying that this is a different Superman. This is a conflicted Superman. Well, stop saying it outside of the fucking movie and show it to me in the movie. It doesn't count. It doesn't count if you show it to me in like the fucking like story synopsis outside of the movie because
Right.
I'm not reading your interview while I'm sitting in the theater.
Yeah.
No. The best scene in the movie is that scene, and they took it away so promptly, and they didn't address it that it it, it really like
It,
again
it
it was a
almost
missed opportunity,
I,
complete missed
I
opportunity.
honestly think, to me, it seems like they didn't even know what they had with that scene. Like, I don't even think
Yeah.
like Zach knew what that scene could do for his movie. He just like put that in there as like a cool, like as a cool scene with him in the fire and oh flames. It was awesome, but I don't think he knew the emotional connection that could be taken from that at all.
You're
and
right. You're right.
And if you were gonna like shoehorn like a Superman comic book event into the movie, that would have been the perfect time to shoehorn in the fall of Superman, where Clark doubts everything that he's doing actually is for the good of mankind, and he actually has to stop and think about his life. That would have been the perfect place to introduce, or at least like give like a little like scrape to that like storyline where Clark Kent actually leaves and goes into space and thinks about exactly what he's doing if it actually is for the betterment of mankind, instead of Martha Wayne just being like, be a hero, don't be a hero. I don't give a damn. You do what you want.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, when he was walking around in the snow for whatever reason, I thought he was going to the ship of Solitude, or build the Fortress of Solitude. I thought
That's what I was hoping for too. It's like, okay, he's alone in the middle of like
Ice.
ice. So we're getting the actual Fortress of Solitude. I'm really excited, and it's like Jonathan Kent. What is Jonathan Kent doing here?
Maybe that stone pyramid's the Fortress of Solitude.
yeah, he's gonna. It's the beginning of it.
Well,
Exactly.
how about the fact that how much time do you think it took him to get there? Because I don't think he flew there because he's walking with a backpack.
That made no sense either.
So so what? Like months passed by since he disappeared.
Yep.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So what is he fucking hitchhiking again?
Nope.
Yeah.
He just walks at a gingerly place from Metropolis to the Himalayas. Just a very crisp.
Meanwhile, like all the other stuff is just being like that scene is so fucking out of place. Seriously,
It is. It's like Kevin Costner called Snyder and said, "Dude, can I be in this movie, please?" And then he's like,
Yeah.
"All right, I'll figure something out."
And what's with the sticks on? What was with the where did he get sticks in the mountains like
They're
that?
bricks. It was like bricks or
No. At the very
wood or
top,
something.
at the very top of the stones were like
Oh yeah.
like two like sticks or something.
If they wanted to go with like
Was it a grave?
Superman talks to his dad kind of thing, wouldn't it have made more sense for him to do it in like the Kent farm or something, where his dad actually lived, rather than him like
Yeah, like
taking
where
like
he's
a 6-month vacation to frigging Antarctica that has nothing to do with Jonathan Kent at all, just to talk to his dad. That makes no sense.
Jonathan Kent could like snow. We don't know what Kevin Costner does in his free time.
That's probably where he was vacationing, and they're like, "No, fuck that. You're filming it here."
Did,
Like,
Exactly.
did the tornado throw him to Antarctica? Is that what happened?
that's where he got the sticks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that scene just that scene that makes no sense because that's the only time you see snow in that movie, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on there.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Tell
Maybe-
you,
All right, guys.
Beginning of the foundation for the Fortress of Solitude.
All right. Well, let's get some final thoughts from the four of us, and then talk about what we want to see coming up, and then we'll wrap this sucker up.
Okay.
Dan, you first.
Well, I thought, like I said, it was fun. It was a fun movie. There was definitely some editing problems. The actors and actresses aren't to blame. It's just the material they're given isn't the best. But I think they did a really good job of what they had. So overall, I did enjoy the movie, and I am looking forward to Justice League, and I'm especially looking forward to the Ben Affleck directed Batman movie because I think he'll do a really great job with that.
For me, I kind of agree with Dan. Like, yes, I'm not the biggest fan of the movie, but as a comic book fan, I can't just give up all hope on what Justice League could be. So I am kind of still looking forward to it, and I agree with Dan that Ben Affleck's directed Batman will give me the revitalized faith I need in DC Comics. And I think it'll be really, really, really good on how the other team members meet up for Justice League.
Yeah, I love Batman, love Batfleck. I think we can all agree we're totally waiting on a bated breath for his Batman movie. I think Superman again got crapped on. I think, gosh, they really need to do. He's supposed to be the leader of the Justice League, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they really need to step it up with his character. And as far as the Justice League is concerned, I hope part one is like an Ocean's 11. I really want Affleck and Wonder Woman to run around and start and pick up these metahumans. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
I think
Vic?
that'd be cool.
Vic?
Yeah, so you just brought up like a really good point about like Superman, or just a really good question that made me think about or made me fear for Justice League, because Superman is supposed to be the leader of the Justice League because his moral high ground is so much better than everyone else's that even Bruce Wayne looks up to Superman. That he knows that Superman morally is better than Batman, regardless of what, even though they both fight for the same thing. And the Superman that Zack Snyder has given us is somebody who still doesn't know if he wants to be Superman, and that's kind of a disconnect of it, all these superheroes, all these powerful beings are supposed to be looking up to Superman, who still is basically like a guy still trying to figure out what he wants to do for the rest of his life after college. It's essentially what Superman is in this version. Having said that, I was very entertained with this movie. There are still major problems with the way Zack Snyder tells a story and character develops, but you dance a dangerous thing here when all you rely on is visual effects and action, and you don't develop a story. So
I'm
yes,
talking to you, George Lucas.
yeah, W like seriously, like DC needs to sell their property to Marvel, or not, sorry, Disney, and let them do it. But could you imagine if fucking Disney bought DC? Holy shit!
We would get JLA Avengers.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
It'd be awesome. It
Get
would
a
be
Joss Whedon Avengers or
the first thing I
Justice
would do is fire Zack Snyder. But anyway, so finishing on my point here is, or thoughts, is that this is a really entertaining movie. Lots of issues. It is definitely a really good popcorn movie. It's one of the best popcorn movies I've seen in a really long time, where you could just sit there and just be in awe of what you're watching. But once you start thinking about it, it starts making you mad. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see like what happens later on. But at the same time, I'm really fearful, and I can't wait for Batman. I can't wait for the Batman solo movie
I
because I know, Ben Affleck. I have faith that Ben Affleck
Yeah.
will direct a really good Batman movie, and I can't wait to
Yes.
see that.
Absolutely.
one
Awesome.
thing I do hope they do is not ruin Flash and give him that armored suit for his movie, because I will hate that.
I
Yeah.
actually, really quick, when they were showing those sequences in the file, and the Flash, like, takes the robber away, he basically destroys that convenience store. And I'm like, can we fucking just film something where a superhero doesn't, like, inadvertently have collateral damage for something?
They need to
No,
sign
it was just like
contract. They
it
got
was just a punk kid trying to rob a convenience store, and the Flash trying to save, like, basically destroys half of the fucking convenience store.
well, they need to sign when they join the Justice League. They need to sign a contract not to destroy anything, and if they do, they got to pay for it.
Yeah.
Awesome, you guys. Well, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed this more talking to you guys.
All right, why don't you guys, so Dan, Steve, why don't you say goodbye?
Bye, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
Thanks again, guys. It was really a lot of fun.
All right. Well, that was episode 15 of Chew on This and Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
And Dick.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.